Hello, and welcome to the finale for the Formula 2 WHF I call it a season break ahead of the new game releasing next week. We've had quite a bit of action so far, and today we're in Austria, and this will be a sprint of 14 laps, followed by a 20 lap race and one shot qualifying. So things could very well get interesting. A lot of it will depend on weather. And we've got quite a few very fast races in today. Obviously, the championship leader, Arrow, going to be in the Prima Racing. D. Sommers, an honorable mention, as he's been doing a few bits in the mid-season break. Well, not mid-season, end of season between game break. Kevin Cowell, who's shown some absolute raw pace and consistency. Godzilla, who, along with Kevin Cowell, is being promoted up to Tier 1 for the coming season. F1 Lime, who does still have a bit of an image problem, but he's working on it. We hope to see absolutely clean racing and not a lot of silly decisions from him here this evening in Austria. Niall, who is the Monaco King, as I believe, as we wrap up Formula 1 24, he will be still fourth in the worldwide time trial. LTJ Ellis, aka Legispin, who has spun in most of the races he's done. To his credit, though, last week was not his fault, as he had it coming together with another driver. However, the fact that he has spun every race, still there. He's yet to break the streak, but we've got our fingers crossed for him here this evening for Austria. The grid not looking too healthy at the moment. Only 12 drivers in the lobby so far, as we are 2 minutes past 8 o'clock. And I'm just going to be checking the chat to see if there's any update. So, Pneumatic, he is in. Tomac, I think he was here last week. I don't recall. Like 80% sure he was. Let's see. They're just chatting about the new game in the Formula Team chat. A bit of discussion over who's into who's going into which cars, as we've got a few reserves on the grid. Tomcat and Michael Louis. Sci-Fi Mega Hype needs an invite. We'll see if we can get him in here. Is my controller planning on working? Hello? Apparently, controller's not wanting to work, but we'll invite Sci-Fi Mega Hype regardless. There we go. Controller's working now. Sci-Fi Mega Hype in the chat.
Hello.
And we've got F1 Lime with us in the chat now. Lime.
Oh man, you're live.
I am.
Oh.
Shows you're not watching the stream. Hey man, says Mike6024. Should be at least 16 drivers in. We are up to 14. 2 outstanding minimum. But Lime, while we've got you here, what is your goal for this evening in Austria?
Oh. Okay, that's. How do I say this? Can I message you it instead? Because saying it on the air is a bit.
Okay, I mean, we can give that a go.
I
I'll try
will
and
message you.
paraphrase.
I will message you it.
So, Austria, is that a strong track for you, or not so much? Or
Yes, quite strong. I think I breached roughly around top 1,000 earlier, so I'm not too bad.
But that's in the Formula One cars, right?
That's in the Formula 2.
Oh, interesting. And any weather conditions you'd prefer?
Right, but I'd also like it to have a little bit of rain in there, because also with Austria, we like rain. There's not a race that I haven't raced in Austria. It's been dry the whole time. So I am used to it raining and it getting quite slippery, but also not rain because the more if people in these cars don't understand where to brake, how it obviously turns, it understeers a lot more than the Formula One car would. The more it rains and obviously the heavier it rains, I think people are going to get caught out and there's going to be like loads of safety cars if it just keeps raining. So I don't really want rain, but I kind of do. I want it to spice up, but I don't want it to be
So maybe
crap.
a wet sprint and a dry main race? Or
That
are
would
you
be
hoping
quite
for the
fun.
main race a mixed bag of weather so it opens up that window for a little bit of strategy and an undercut?
Yeah, that would be quite fun. Hang on.
So,
Alright, I messaged you the goal in a sense. That thing isn't for the main race. It's for the main race, not for the sprint.
so
So sprint race doesn't really count.
Sprite's partner has offered a reward of sorts, shall we say, if he gets P5 or above. So we'll be holding thumbs as we head into one-shot qualifying, 14 drivers on the grid. That is only improving Lime's chances, and hopefully it won't be Lime in the incidents today, and he can benefit from a safety car without causing one. So keeping fingers crossed. And Mike in the chat says he's also strong in Formula 2, as he's only a 10th in time trial off of Lime's time at Austria. So, as we get ready for this one-shot qualifying, the Formula 2 finale, as we've got a countdown now. And for those of you watching, if you haven't already, go ahead and follow my main channel, my personal channel rather. It's Scones, spelled the same as you see on your screen, and that is on Twitch. I usually stream Formula 1 and Grand Theft Auto roleplay. But we will be on board with... We'll go with Lime. I feel like he's going to have the most riding on this race as far as motivation to do well, as he's going to be coming down towards turn 3 now. So a couple drivers are doing slightly better than him. Arrow, Michael Louie, and Nile. Michael Louie all the way up in P2, but can he hold on to it? As he goes now ahead of Nile. Arrow and Michael and Nile, all three in the mix on the podium places there. We'll take a look at what Michael's up to. In the AIX car, which I'll be honest, I'm a big fan of the color on that. And he is absolutely clinical through the second sector. And into the third, final 2 corners coming up. Loses just a hair of time on Arrow. F1 Lime slipping all the way down to P12 now, unfortunately. So it's not looking good for him, but Michael Louie going to be starting in P3 in his championship rival from Tier 2. Very much on his pace, only 3/100th of a second behind. And Arrow just ahead in P2, and Nile, the GOAT, going to be taking us off into the sprint race in P1. So Lion will be looking to gain as many positions in the sprint as he can. So Pneumatic saying Lime Torpedo. is water wet and does a bear shit in the woods. Haha. So, who do you reckon's going to win? My money would be on Niall, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Michael Louis pull something out of the bag. So we'll get ready for the sprint race. I'm wondering, are we going straight in? I feel like we'll be going straight in. WHF. Formula 2. No, nothing said about a time to start. Lime, do you have any idea what time we'll be starting? Right now, apparently. Sweet. And with 5 lights. Oh? This didn't look like... Oh, it's reverse, apart from the DNFs. So, Pneumatic currently in first place. Sci-Fi Mega Hype up into second as we got Argy Bargy and Godzilla lost the back end entirely going into the air. Absolute madness as we round turn 3. And Ellis doing what Legispin does. He spun it, but to his credit, that was due to contact from another driver. Pneumatic opening up a 0.6 gap. Sci-Fi Mega Hype down to P4. Godzilla now in P5 after his incident. It might have been D. Sommers actually, but Godzilla and Michael Louis championship rivals. As Michael Louis going wheel to wheel with Arrow, the current championship leader. Arrow taking the position back. Ooh, Michael possibly going to lose out another position to Niall. And he does, coming out of the second sector. And Arrow making his way through the field now. Getting ahead of Sci-Fi Mega Hype, but getting held up with Godzilla. And F1 Lime going to be overtaken by D. Sommers there as they round the final straight. Destructo with the fastest lap up to P1.
Sponsors rain.
And we've just heard there is rain confirmed. We can see it on the driver's screen. This could change everything for the sprint race. As Niall has spun. He's all the way down to P14. You wouldn't have been able to tell me that would have happened. But into turn 3 now. We've got Michael Louis into the back of... No, Sci-Fi Mega Hype into the back of somebody else. As they go 3 wide, almost 4 wide, now into 2x2 into turn 4. Sci-Fi Mega Hype door banging with, I believe, Tomax and F1 Lime up to P8. Only a few positions to go for him to make it up to where he will be rewarded for his performance. As we can see, the car's really struggling for grip as Sci-Fi Mega Hype goes into the gravel, tie clear, getting ahead of Godzilla. So we'll take a look at where the gaps are. Ollie Bean could be making a play for P1 here, only 0.2 seconds behind the race leader Destructo. As they round the final corner, nobody opting to pit yet. Despite the track definitely looking a little bit slick, Destructo setting an even fastest lap. But Michael Louis out of nowhere, not too far of the leaders now, up to P4. As they've left a gap to P5, so it's all to play for here as they make their way, the race leaders make their way up to turn 3. And Ellis, who has a time penalty, Lime falling away down to P11 from P8. You hate to see it, but Arrow going side by side with D. Sommers is going to get the better exit. And he's going to lead this pack into turn 4 as he's making time up to that lead pack with Destructo, Ollie Bean, Pneumatic, and Michael Louis. So could see a move here from Tomax as he's going to try and maybe vie for the inside line. No, opts to take the slipstream from D. Sommers into turn 5. I am very surprised that nobody has pitted yet. Everybody is on the soft tire. But is the track dry enough? That's the question. Or could we see a safety car any second? Michael Louis goes a little bit wide, but is going to get ahead of Pneumatic. Pneumatic getting the position back because he's in the pits. Somehow he managed to get ahead. So Pneumatic going to be the first to pit, taking the gamble, possibly going onto the wets. As I've learned recently that the Formula 2 cars don't actually have an intermediate tire. So you learn something new every day. But Ollie Bean into turn 3, going down the inside of Destructo now. Is just about able to get the move, but can Destructo get the better exit? No, he cannot. As Ollie Bean pulling away now into turn 4. Ty Clear getting away, getting ahead rather of Condzilla. Looking to possibly make a move on Kevin Cal. Obviously, Pneumatic, the only driver on wets. We'll see if that is going to be to his benefit or detriment, as he's all the way down to P14 with a 20-second gap. Nile up to P12, now getting ahead of Sci-Fi Mega Hype. Godzilla taking the position back from Ty Clear as they go back and forth out of turn 5 into turn 6 now. Absolutely great racing so far. There's been a little bit of bumping and banging, but for the most part, all the drivers keeping it clean and on track. Arrow destined for the podium in P3, looking to possibly extend his championship lead to his closest competitor, Nile, all the way down in P12, who is out of the points here in the sprint race in Austria. Destructo losing out that position to Ollie Bean. We could see him potentially make it back. Neither driver has their DRS flap open. That is interesting. And, ooh, that could be a sticky situation into turn 3. As Arrow, now the race leader, getting a beautiful double overtake out of the DRS zone. So Destructo, Ollie Bean, and Michael Louis all in the mix coming into turn 4 now. As D. Sommers getting a front row seat to everything that's happening, and Michael Louis going to be getting ahead of Destructo. Could we see a switchback of sorts from Destructo as he gets a good exit, takes the inside into turn 6, now into the mini chicane section, coming to sector 3. Michael Louis is going to be battling with D. Sommers as he concedes positions all the way down to P5, but does get the inside line. Ooh, bit of bumping and banging from both drivers there as they make their way onto the main straight. Neither driver wanting to back out there. And F1 Lime, the second defender for track limits. So obviously the soft tire is not feeling too bad, and it is looking like Pneumatic's gamble is not going to pay off, as he's lost a further 5 seconds of pace to Sci-Fi Mega Hype. Ollie Bean going to be getting ahead of Destructo as Arrow pulls away, but I say that as Destructo makes a lunge for the inside, but Ollie Bean gets a far better exit now, looking to try and leave the rest of the pack behind. We had a yellow flag, unsure for what. But Arrow running away with the race with a 2.2 second gap to Ollie Bean. Ollie Bean, Destructo have been battling. D. Sommers fell back behind Michael Louis, but Michael Louis is still in P5. And Tomax now showing his face here in the front running pack. Just behind Destructo. The gaps are pretty close overall. Handful of gaps forming here and there between Ollie Bean and Arrow, Kevin Cal, Ty Clear, Conzilla, Kevin Cal, and then the two back markers, Sci-Fi Mega Hype and Pneumatic, pretty far behind the race leader. We'll just pop that up and see the full gaps in Pneumatic, a full 42 seconds behind the race leader Arrow, and I imagine that gap will only increase as Arrow is doing incredibly well here. Destructo finally getting back ahead of Ollie Bean coming into turn 3. Oh, and there's contact between, it may have been Michael Louis and Ollie Bean who had contact there. Could be something for the stewards to take a look at. So Arrow's still running away with it. Tomax with just shy of a 1 second gap to Destructo, who's looking to make that gap work for him. And F1 Lime getting into the mix now with Nile. As they go into turn 5 side by side. Slight contact. But overall keeping it clean, and F1 Lime is going to be ahead into turn 6. But Nile hot on his tail now, fighting for that P10 position. So halfway through the race, just about, as we start off lap 8. So Lime actually able to pull away slightly from Nile. But that might be due to Nile running a lower wing setup, as he's got DRS, unable to catch him, but surely going to be able to get him into turn 3 as he gets a much better exit out of turn 1. I imagine he'll just carry that pace through with DRS. And Lime going to fall right in behind, as he's got LTJ Ellis Ledger Spin hot on his tail. Ooh, Lime! Well, that's unfortunate. That is incredibly unfortunate for Lime, as he also has a 3-second penalty, I believe. So Pneumatic's gamble not paying off for him in the slightest, as that gap is now increased to nearly double what it was. D. Sommers has wing damage on his front wing, still able to keep pace with Tomax, as he also has wing damage on his front wing. And D. Sommers picking up a 3-second time penalty, which would put him all the way down in P8. And certainly at risk of losing points, but tie clear in the Prima, the Kimi Antonelli Prima. D. Sommers sneaking ahead of Tomax. Michael Louis able to get ahead of Ollie Bean, who's fallen off massively. Did he spin? Unsure, unclear, tie clear. Hot on the heels of D. Sommers, and just behind him is Tomax, vying for that P4 position to potentially have a crack at a podium finish. Kevin Kell goes a little bit wide on the exit, and Michael Louis has fallen all the way down to P10. Surely something must have happened there, as Condzilla going to be giving the position to Michael. And Michael now just behind Nile. He doesn't appear to have wing damage, but I imagine he's not going to be too happy if he's just managed to lose out on 5 places. But Tomax and Ty Clear, as well as D. Sommers, all very much in the mix to try and secure that P3 position, get a spot on the podium for the sprint race. With 5 laps of racing remaining, ladies and gentlemen, it is anybody's race. Well, actually, it's going to be Arrow's race, with a massive 3-second gap to Destructo. So P1 and P2 pretty much locked in at this point. And Condzilla has retired. I believe in the pits, Michael Louis picking up a 3-second time penalty. So very unfortunate for him. He will not be at all happy with how this race has turned out for him today, as he's all the way down to P9. Was within spitting distance of a podium not long ago. As Nile going to be getting ahead of Ollie Bean to claim P7. As he makes his way into turn 4 in the Isaac Hadjar Red Bull. But Ollie Bean not giving up that easily, as he is still hot on his tracks. Condzilla obviously has retired, and F1 Lime all the way down in P13. As he's opted to pit and go for the super softs. But surely won't even be enough to catch up Pneumatic. So Ty Clear really does need to get ahead of D. Sommers very soon if he wants any chance of that podium position, as D. Sommers will obviously be unable to claim that position due to his 3-second time penalty. So in the Kimi Antonelli Prima, so D. Somers could be making a cheeky sniff down the inside of turn 3 as he sends it in. Ty Clear now also has a 3-second penalty. So Tomax just needs to drive calm and he will get that third position. But he is opting. Oh, just let them go, mate. This is going to end badly. Look at that. D. Somers off the track. Falls down to P5. Ty Clear up to P3, but does have a 3-second penalty. He has Tomax hot on his tail. Kevin Cal, I believe that was, who we just saw go incredibly wide out of turn 4. So F1 Lime has been able to catch up Pneumatic. Oh, as Pneumatic picking up a 10-second time penalty. So unfortunate for the teammates there, all the way back in P12 and 13. LTJ Ellis up to 9 seconds of penalties due to track limits down in P10. So Ollie Bean barely holding on to the DRS. Poor Niall coming to turn 3. But who will have the better exit? Niall very squirrely with the rear end there coming out of turn 3. Ollie Bean will have DRS on him. Could we see him possibly make a massive lunge into turn 4? I don't think he's got the legs for it. So he's going to opt to play it safe. Niall definitely does not look comfortable here today. I will say that. Usually looks very composed and clean behind the wheel. Seems to be struggling with grip. Obviously with it being wet, none of the drivers bar Lime and Pneumatic have pitted. Pneumatic for the wet tire and Lime for the super softs. And Pneumatic has retired from the session. I believe that's in the pits. So Tomax will pretty much secure that P3 position. I imagine Ty Clear simply hoping that Tomax is able to pick up a 3-second penalty as he will be able to claim that P3 position, and it would be double podium for the Prima Boys, Arrow and Ty Clear. Tried to gamble, didn't rain enough. I was really hoping it was going to pay off for you too. I was like, this is going to be such a boss undercut. And then when you came out the pits, there was a 20-second gap. And the next time I looked, it was up to 25. And I was like, that has not worked out at all. So Ty Clear and Tomax still in the mix for that P3 position. Sci-Fi Mega Hype, the latest offender for track penalties with a 3-second penalty now. But Lime with a massive 30-second gap. Most likely going to be unable to catch him. But Sci-Fi Mega Hype has managed to make a lot of inroads on Ledger Spin. He does seem to be struggling with the rear end coming out of Sector 2 though, so could we see a move from Sci-Fi Mega Hype to claim that P10 position from LTJ Ellis? As LTJ Ellis seems to be able to pull away a little bit, and with that, DRS has now been disabled now that it's raining hard enough. Pneumatic will be absolutely seething as we see D. Somers make a bit of a dive bomb on Tomka. Tomka going to get the exit and will get ahead, just barely coming to turn 4, my apologies. But a bit of a lunge from D. Somers there, and oh, beautiful undercut from Tomka there as he gets ahead, back up to P4, and Kevin Cal just waiting in the distance, knowing that he is more or less guaranteed that P4 spot. And Niall surely should be able to get P5 just about. But Tomka guaranteed that P3 position, as we'll go on board with Arrow as he crosses the line. Here in Austria, your race winner, well, sprint race winner, ladies and gentlemen, followed by Destructo. Tie clear, third on track, but will be further down once more drivers cross. And then is going to be third for Tomka, Kevin Cal, Ty Clear, Niall, D. Sommers, Ollie Bean, Michael Louis, LTJ Ellis, who's managed to completely shake off Sci-Fi Mega Hype. That gap was less than half a second earlier. And gotta commend the man, the myth, the legend, F1 Lime, for staying on track. OMG, it's Portugal all over again. Last minute heavy rain. Yeah, because it never rains hard in Austria, apparently. You should have seen our tier 2 race, mate. No, you were in our tier 2 race. What am I saying? That was heavy ass rain. It was literally like fighting in the trenches. It was crazy. I was hoping to see that here today. I was hoping to see an absolute bloodbath and just chaos and safety cars and children screaming in the distance. But there's your driver of the day, WHF Arrow, managing to win the race, and he'll be glad to add those points to his championship lead. So I'm still unsure whether we are going straight in to the main race or not. So, congratulations to the sprint race winners. I wanted the undercuts of the century. I really wanted that for you too. It's just sad it didn't really pay off. But like you said, it was a gamble. And as we head into the main race, that's 4 and 5 lights, and away we go. Niall going to be taking us into turn 1 with Arrow getting a slightly better launch as they're looking to go side by side into turn 1. Niall backs out, Arrow taking the lead, cuts the corner a little bit, surely going to be a warning for him. A lot of position changes here. As Sci-Fi Mega Hype falls off massively, F1 Lime down to P13. Michael Louis into P3. Massive shot as he moves down to P1 into turn 3, but has got Destructo for company into turn 3 as they go side by side. Who's going to have the better exit? And Michael Louis just barely getting ahead, but is Destructo going to make a move? No, he falls in just behind. Could Arrow be looking to make a move here as we go on board with Godzilla? And Arrow made a lunge, unsuccessful. Michael Louis retaining the lead right now, but a few position changes happening back there as Tomax getting into it with LTJ Ellis. Niall getting ahead of Ollie Bean. Can he retain that though? Ollie Bean does appear to have the legs into turn 6, has the softer tires. Niall closing the door on him though, and Ollie will have to fall in line. We'll go on board with Arrow, who might be looking to make a cheeky move on. Michael has to back out of the second to last turn. Michael's got to be feeling the pressure into the last turn here. And who's going to have the legs? Who's got the less draggy setup? Michael with the fastest lap of a 1 minute 20.8. And Arrow really doing a good job at putting the pressure on. And Michael picking up a 3-second penalty. That is so unfortunate for Michael. As we saw Arrow putting the pressure on into turn 1. And Michael must have just lost focus for that split second as they come together out of turn 3. And Arrow going to be dropping back down to P3. P4, sorry. Destructo up to P3. Arrow still in the mix, taking the outside line. Destructo on the inside, but who's going to come out best? Who's got the exit? It appears still side by side now to turn 4 into turn 5. Arrow just barely a nose ahead. Closes the door on the potential switchback from Destructo. And Michael Louis will be loving this. He wants them to fight back here. That is what he wants. Pneumatic Ty Clear both getting ahead of Sci-Fi Mega Hype as they are now battling the 3 of them out of the second to last corner as Sci-Fi Mega Hype gets absolutely sent. Surely that should be an appeal as he's just been sent off twice by Ty Clear. And Podzilla, our new fastest lap leader. Ty Clear getting a 3-second warning for his efforts. Into turn 1, it's Arrow making a move on Cod. Really aggressive move. Leaves just enough room on the exit. And does have Niall and Destructo not far behind as he sets his sights on regaining that P1 position from Michael after there was a bit of contact. Sending Arrow all the way down into P5. So, lap 3 of 20, and there are options. 4 tires, as a handful have gone soft, a few have gone super soft. So, we'll see which strategy is going to be paying off here in Austria. So, F1 Lime unable to make any form of inroads from where he started as he's down in P14 with a 2-second gap. All by myself. F1 Lime is all by himself. Anyway, coming out of turn 3, it's Arrow regaining the lead for the race. Michael Louis not far behind. Godzilla hoping to pick up any scraps from battling that may occur between the two, as there may have been a little bit of contact between Michael Louis and Arrow there. Arrow going to be looking to try and get away and open up that gap, much like he did in the sprint. And Michael knows he needs to try and open up a gap for the drivers behind due to that 3-second penalty. But Niall, once again, needs to set his sights on Ollie Bean. But he's got D. Sommers getting in the mix. Overall, just incredible racing from a lot of the drivers on the track. As we are looking to close out lap 4. And the gap to the leader is minimal in the top 9. So Ollie Bean going very aggressive with the inside line. But lets Niall ahead. And D. Sommers happy to pick up the leftovers from that. So Ollie Bean losing out massively. Not going to have DRS for the longest section of the track with DRS. And had a terrible accident on a turn 1. So Tomax gets ahead of Ollie Bean. Could potentially get ahead of D. Sommers and does. As they are potentially going to be side by side into turn 4. Who's going to break first? It looks like they're very evenly matched, but on the exit, Tomka going to get a slightly better exit. then D. Sommers. As there was a bit of bumping and banging on the exit there. So that gap to P3 now to 1 second, which will be to Michael's delight, as Conzilla won't have DRS, and they could potentially just open up the gap to the drivers behind, and potentially Michael will regain. Oh my god, Arrow's now got a 3-second time penalty, so Michael could potentially even win this if they work together and open up the gap to the cars behind. But it's whether or not they are willing to work together. Kevin Kell, the first of the drivers to come into the pits, looks like he is opting for the soft tire. An interesting choice. I suppose 14 laps on a soft is not unheard of. We saw that in the sprint, but Destructo and Nile getting into it. Well, Destructo and Godzilla, I should say. Nile out of nowhere now in the mix, trying to get ahead of Godzilla, and might be looking to try and take an inside dive on Destructo coming into turn 4. Not gonna happen, but he is gonna try and maybe get the inside of the next corner. Didn't get the exit maybe he was hoping for. And Godzilla not far behind, just in P5. The gap to P3 now, all the way up to just shy of 2 seconds, up to 1.7. The race leaders know this, and they know that their positions are in jeopardy if they don't manage to open up that gap to more than 3 seconds due to the time penalties they've both incurred. And surely you're going to see an overtake from Nile here as D. Sommers getting ahead of Tomax. I need to get that name right. Ooh, so Nile. Oh, he's not going for it. I think he's waiting till the next one and then get ahead in preparation for turn 3 as D. Sommers is in the pit. Our second driver to pit. And LTJ Ellis not far behind. So he's opting for the soft tire. So Nile barely getting ahead of Destructo. Surely Destructo not going to be too happy about that. And much to Michael and Arrow's disdain, this is one of the quickest drivers on the grid who will surely be able to catch them up if they are not careful. We see already was able to close that gap just a little bit, but battling between Nile and Destructo, causing that gap to go just a hair over 2 seconds and under 2 seconds. But if Nile can get on uninterrupted, could secure P1 here due to the time penalty of the race leaders, and Michael Louis now left in no man's land with a 1.3 second gap to Arrow, and Nile is closing on him. And Michael Louis going to be diving into the pits now. Could this be the right timing? Or has he pitted a bit early? Is it a bit late? We do not know. Quite a few drivers diving into the pits now. I believe that'll be all the super soft runners. Bar, Arrow, Tomax, Ollie Bean, and Ty Clear all in the pit. No, Ty Clear start on the soft, so he's not going to be pitting. F1 Lime up to P8, only a stone's throw from where he needs to be. However, on the actual timing board, he is still quite a bit off the pace of where he needs to be if he wants that P5 position for the reward from his partner. So Tomax going to be getting ahead of Ollie Bean. Could we see a late dive from Ollie Bean into turn 4? Probably not. F1 Lime making a move past Sci-Fi Mega Hype with great ease. So Ollie Bean and Ty Claire and F1 Lime, the latest defender for track limits. Quite a few of them today, more than half the grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers with track limits penalties, including the front runner Arrow and the person who was previously in P2, Michael Louis. So the biggest winners and losers so far in position going to be Ty Clear up 9. Godzilla's in no man's land, as is Nile with a full 2 second gap to Arrow. Arrow is definitely giving everything he's got, trying to open up that gap to 3 seconds. But Nile is no slouch of a driver. He's got raw pace and consistency on him. Obviously did struggle a little bit in the sprint with it being wet. But it's dry track now. Sci-Fi Mega Hype in the mix with Pneumatic with quite a bit of lag there. So may potentially get a connection reprimand. So Arrow now in the pits. Could we see Niles on the soft, so he'll be pitting a little bit later. Conzilla also going to be skipping because he's on the softs. Ollie Bean, who does have Ty Clear for company. Yeah, you know, these two have been battling throughout the race. So it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do. And F1 Lime right where he wants to be. P5, but has yet to pit. So Ollie Bean going to retain that current P3 position, but obviously it would not be his true position, as P1 to P6 have yet to pit. So Ty Clear and Ollie Bean, definitely the closest battle we've got available to us entertainment-wise. And then Arrow to Sci-Fi Mega Hype, which should be in the next few corners. We should see an overtake as Arrow right on the gearbox of Sci-Fi Mega Hype, and they've had it coming together. That is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. I don't know whose fault that was, but that did not need to happen in the slightest, as Arrow falling all the way down to P11. Sci-Fi Mega Hype retaining that P8 position. And now going into the pits, F1 Lime up to P4. And Michael Louis not far behind him in P5. A 5-second gap, but everybody P1 to 4 has yet to pit. So your current on-track race leader will be Michael Louis. However, he's got Destructo not far behind. Now, if I was Michael Louis, I'd probably try and work with Destructo a little bit and see if you can maybe open up the gap even further to D Sommers all the way down in P8. So let's not do anything stupid here, lads. Let's try and work together. Get both of you some free podiums. So that would potentially put Destructo into P1, Michael Louis P2, D Sommers P3, if everything stays as is. But it probably won't if Kevin Kell has anything to say about it now, coming up on the rear of D Sommers into the final two turns, and Ty Clear getting ahead of Conzilla. Destructo with a 3-second time penalty. So it is very possible for Michael Louis to potentially win here at Austria. And we've got LTJ Ellis, who sent it around on turn 4 because it wouldn't be WHF without the same things happening every race. It's kind of like watching the Titanic. You know it's coming. But Arrow moving very aggressively up to P6 though. And Destructo going to be getting ahead of Michael Louis. They need to play smart here. They can open up the gap. It's a guaranteed podium for both drivers. And merely a formality over who finishes where. LTJ Ellis, unfortunately, out of the session. I am very much looking forward to seeing what LTJ Ellis does in Tier 2 with the new season coming. And apparently, the rear end, way more stable. So Destructo and Michael Louis up to P2 and 3. However, that is a gargantuan gap. And if that's correct, Niall is pretty much guaranteed a free pit stop at this point. Should come out ahead of both drivers. Also doesn't have a time penalty. So Destructo and Michael Louis will be pretty much competing for second and third place on the podium. Pneumatic, the latest offender for track limits, picking up a 3-second time penalty. And what I'll do is I'll just show everybody's penalties on track right now. Tomax getting ahead of Kevin Kell, the two teammates. However, Tomax is a reserve driver. Godzilla and D. Sommers in the mix now, but Godzilla going to be pulling away. A horrendous exit from D. Sommers. Didn't get the grip he was maybe wanting, but Tomax looking to take advantage of that, rather coming to the final two turns. Could he possibly get the run on the main DRS straight? Kevin Kell waiting anxiously, not far behind to possibly pick up any scraps from the battle that is about to ensue between the two drivers. For P5 WHF, Arrow setting a new fastest lap as that gap now 3.1 seconds to Destructo and Michael Louis. So those hopes of a podium finish for those two drivers fading away in the wind. There's no need to be battling this hard, lads. Just you're keeping up with the race winner, and he has yet to pit. While you do have a chance, let's not be silly, because Arrow's catching you. So Arrow and Godzilla now getting into a bit of a scuffle. Godzilla not far behind, but may need to recompose himself, as this was the corner that Arrow spun out on earlier. And onto the main straight now. Arrow still P4. That gap now closing to 2 seconds between Destructo and Michael. I think they really do need to just get their heads down and stop fighting. An Arrow with the second 3-second time penalty. Oh no. That will surely put Godzilla in front of him at the final results. But Michael Louis with a massive switchback. And Destructo getting an absolutely terrible exit. No grip whatsoever for the VAR driver. And Michael Louis now into P2. Obviously the race leader Niall, I don't believe has pitted yet. He has. I missed it because the gap was so big. Oh. So Niall will surely be bringing it home. He is on the best tire. And the 5 drivers behind him all have penalties. So Michael Louis can keep it on track. And even if he lets Destructo pass, that should be a podium. But I think he's hoping that Arrow is going to come along and fight with Destructo, giving him the opportunity to get away as we head into the last 5 laps. So Destructo going to have a front row view into turn 3. Arrow going to have a front row view to Destructo in turn 3. And now looking to possibly make a move into turn 4 as Godzilla not really giving him the option to go in behind on the outside line. Needed to make a lunge, a switchback from Godzilla. And Pneumatic picking up a 3-second time penalty. Arrow falling the way down to P5. Pneumatic speeding in the pit lane and then retired in the pits. And very unfortunate for F1 Lime's teammate. And I don't believe that'll be points for himself or the team, as he has not completed enough of the race. It's usually up to the discretion of the stewards. But usually you need to be within a lap or 2 of finishing, which was not the case for Pneumatic. But Michael Louis still in P2. Destructo licking his lips at the thought of gaining that position. And Arrow, who does have 2 3-second penalties, is in P4. So we'll be losing out on a position to Godzilla and Tomax. So Michael Louis and Destructo seemingly equal exits. But Destructo has DRS and he's going to be sending it into turn 4. And Michael Louis right back on him. Unfucking believable. That is both races that Michael Louis now has been absolutely shafted. Destructo and Godzilla should be making up the remainder of the podium. Arrow surely has too many penalties for it to for it to stick with any kind of inroads to have that gap to secure a solid place. Oh shit. I hope, Pneumatic, I hope everything is okay, but it's completely understandable. Godzilla and Destructo fighting for that P2 spot as Niall going to be making sure that the lap counter shows we've only got 2 laps to go. So ladies and gentlemen, any moves you're looking to make, you're approaching the window in which you'd want to do it. An Arrow up to 9 seconds of penalties now. Tomax has 13. So Kevin Cal could be looking at as much as a 2-place jump up, securing P4, as he's the only driver on the grid who has not had a penalty. So Michael Louis, 6 seconds of penalties will put him in P8, as he is going to be battling wheel to wheel with Tomax. Tomax getting the better exit now, coming into out of turn 3 towards turn 4. They both seem to have the run on Kevin Cal. Kevin Cal has the inside line. Michael Louis went off the track a little bit there. And hot on his heels is D. Sommers. So as now crosses the line to signify that we are heading into the final lap. Godzilla and Destructo, it's all down to this. One of the shortest tracks on the calendar. But it is pretty much every DRS, every straight is a DRS, with the exception of one. So this could all come crashing down in turn 3, as we've got a massive send from, I believe, D. Sommers, and it doesn't really work out for him. Michael Louis is in the mix up to, down to P7, formerly a race leader. And WHF Arrow kind of in no man's land with a 4-second gap to P2 and 3. I think Destructo is just going to play it cool. Not enough of a gap for him to make a move. Michael Louis' gap to Kevin Cal was the closest. Now D. Sommers' gap to Michael Louis is the closest, so we will follow that. And Niall crosses the line. He'll be your race winner, followed by Godzilla and Destructo for P2 and 3. And Kevin Cal, Arrow for P4. No, Arrow will not be P4. He has quite a significant amount of penalties, so he will drop down. Kevin Cal, P4. D. Sommers in P5. Arrow P6. Michael Louis P7. Ty Clear in P8, Tomax in P9, Ollie Bean in P10, F1 Lime, not getting lucky tonight, P11, Sci-Fi Mega Hype in P12, Pneumatic, unfortunately did have to retire due to personal reasons, and LTJ Ellis having quite the unfortunate race, was the first to retire. So we'll hop into the Formula 2 race party and see if anybody wants an interview. So for those curious about the Michael Louis incident, I think it was Destructo coming out of turn 4 didn't get the exit he wanted. Michael Louis did get the exit he wanted. He had Arrow on the inside, so he didn't really have anywhere to go besides up the back of Destructo. So, very unfortunate race. Michael Louis kind of got shafted in both the sprint and the main race, which I was upset about. Lime not getting the P5 that he would have required to receive a reward from his partner, as he finished all the way down in P11. 2 retirements, and hopefully everything's okay with Pneumatic at home. And Niall going to be taking the main race. Obviously, Arrow did take the sprint. Destructo in P2, Arrow in P3. Oh, this is for the weekend. Okay, no, that makes sense. So now the big one of the weekend, Destructo, Arrow, Godzilla. So it was a very entertaining race, the sprint. Saw a couple of drivers go for the gamble for the wet tire, unfortunately not panning out for them like they would have liked. I say a couple, it was just Pneumatic. But quite the eventful main race. Fortunately, no safety cars there, so with that, we will head on to the drivers who are looking to be interviewed. We will start with our race winner. Niall, how do you feel the sprint and main race went for you? In the sprint, when it was a bit wet, you looked to be struggling with the rear end of the car a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Alright, so I'll talk you through it. Obviously, it's the sprint didn't go well. I got damage, I think, either lap 1 or lap 2 at turn 1, which wasn't ideal. I think it was when I went for a spin. I got damage, and I kind of went for a spin at turn 1. Wasn't ideal. In the wet, I was keep it on the island, to be honest. With the damage, the car was unturnable, which made things even worse. So, which kind of, I mean, front end not being able to turn kind of provoked the rear end to slide even more, to be honest, in the sprint. So yeah, I had to just do my best. And main race, I had to play it smart. A bit of contact on lap 1, we don't talk about that. Just started on the soft, was a bit patient. I knew I had good grip, I knew I had the pace. Stayed out, kind of did an overcut, went on a super soft, and went into distance and won. Pretty easy stuff.
Yeah, it was an absolutely amazing drive. And at one point, I didn't even realize you'd pitted because I didn't realize the gap was so huge that you basically got a free pit stop. So congratulations, and I believe overall results for both races, you came out on top points-wise for the weekend. So congratulations for that. As for standings, I don't believe that would have been enough to dethrone Arrow, was it?
You're not to outscore by a good 30-something points.
Yeah, so Arrow did manage to score some points. So he will be the F2 May 2025 champion. And we'll move on to him next. And we'll see, how do you feel the races went for you? Arrow, obviously in the sprint, you managed to get away and you stayed away. And then obviously a few incidents happened in the main race. So, how do you feel that both races went for you?
Well, the sprint went pretty ideally. I was surprised Neil wasn't with me in the sprint, but then I figured he must have got damaged because otherwise Neil would certainly have been there. And then in the feature, just people kept hitting me like over and over again. I couldn't really do much. Every time I would go for a move into, or not even go for a move, just people kept rear-ending me into every braking zone early on that feature race. But then I finally did get away. Although I made a mistake at the very start because I wanted to do the same strategy as Neil, and then I forgot to select the right tire. So I was like, oh well, shit. Now I need to immediately build a gap from Neil if I want to win this race. And then I did get to a point where everything was still pretty going pretty well. I had planned to overcut Michael Lowe, and it worked exactly as I'd planned. And then
You
me and
made
Sci-Fi,
contact, yeah, out of
yeah,
turn
me
six, I
and
believe it was. Turn 5 or 6?
yeah, me and Sci-Fi had contact. I was trying to back out of the move, and he just turned across me anyway, so I couldn't even survive. So that was basically race done because I lost a lot of positions. But then it was like, right, I'll do a recovery drive. I realized at some point Neil was in the lead, and I was like, well, I didn't even see Neil overtake me at any point. I'm guessing he just got past me whenever I was sideways on the grass, or maybe uh, somehow anyway. But
Well, I think he did. Was it 15 or 16 laps you did on the soft tires, Neil? Or Niall? But he managed to keep those soft tires going for quite a long time. And then for the
yeah,
final stint, it was onto the super softs.
yeah, I'm guessing he just overcut. And then whenever I did have the contact, then he was still out there doing the same laps, whereas I lost loads of time. And then I tried to battle back with D Summers, Michael and Godzilla, and we were all battling ferociously. And then into turn 4, or was
Yeah,
it Destructo? It was
on the
Destructo.
exit, yeah,
Yeah,
Michael made contact and spun out.
yeah, on the exit, Michael hit the rear of Destructo, and then that pushed him into me. And then Michael's car just spun across me and immediately chopped my front wing off. And I was like, well, that's kind of my race done. So it was more of just a survival drive. And then I think I picked up like 2 more penalties with the damage, just trying to keep it on the track.
I believe you are
But
correct. I think you did end on 9 seconds of penalties.
yeah, normally it's been a while. It's been a while since I've had that many pens. So a great way to end the year.
Niall, in the main race, did you have any penalties? I feel like you had a 3 second because I remember noting that Kevin Cal was the only driver to not have penalties. And I couldn't remember if that's because I kind of excluded Niall because he was so far ahead, or if he did actually have a penalty. So I'm not entirely sure. But it's been incredibly entertaining watching all the Formula 2 races. Arguably better than the Formula 1. I feel like there's more battles that happen. It's just a lot more chaos, though. I'm surprised there wasn't a single safety car in both the sprint and the main race. So we will move on to. We'll move on to Sci-Fi Mega Hype. Obviously, the driver that had the incident with Arrow coming out of turn 5 or 6. If he wants to speak, that is.
It wasn't one incident. I think this has been my worst one. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is, today I just told myself, you know what? Start looking at other cars, and there's so many cars to concentrate on, because last week I was getting penalties for getting hit from the back kind of thing. And I was like, I'm going to concentrate on other cars today. And I just lost focus on what my car was doing. So I was just losing control every corner whenever this around. It's just a bit hectic.
Well, it is really unfortunate, but it's been lovely seeing you race not just through the Tier 2 season, but also through the Formula 2 May 2025 between game. I don't even know what the actual name of it is, the
Yes.
Formula 2 between games break. It's been very
Yeah.
enjoyable watching you race. Will you be
Oh,
joining us
Today
for the
was
new season?
particularly tough. Yeah, I will.
Yeah, I know I struggle with the Formula 2 cars because like usually I just kind of spam the shift down, and you can't do that in the Formula 2 cars.
So I think, yeah, also what happened, like the first 10-1 in the sprint, I tried to break inside, but someone behind just hits me, and I'm like, if I don't break now, corner. So I don't know why, but people react to what the car in front is doing.
Yeah, I mean it is a tough one, for a lot of drivers. Once you sort of get used to driving with the guys you drive with, you kind of know what they're going to do in a situation. You can predict it. When you haven't got that many races with those drivers, it's hard to kind of predict like this guy's going to break more than he needs to,
Yo.
sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the next races, I'm just gonna start at the back, run my race. Because that's much easier. It's easier than getting damage in like the first lap all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could be worse. You could have the reputation that F1 Lime has, and he's not helped himself here this evening either, because I believe he did go off track and into a wall. He didn't retire or cause a safety car for a change, um, but he's got a reputation. And speaking of reputations, I believe somebody who's done a clean sweep of his reputation was Legispin, who I don't believe had a single race where he didn't spin. And that was true here today. I believe you did spin out of turn 4, I think.
Yes.
Yes, I was right. So,
Yeah.
is that a tradition you're looking to take into the new game when we start the tier 2 season?
No, because I finally sort of cracked no TC, and then I thought, why not handicap myself one more and just come into this race and no ABS on the spot.
Oh my god.
Um, so that is why I spun out turn 4, and then I was so far back, I decided to put in the pit lane and just call it a day. I
Understandable.
was, yeah, I wasn't driving my greatest, I'm going to be honest. So I just decided, I just end it here. Just did some commentary for my stream, just watching. There were some really good battles, so just watching the entertainment.
Yeah, there was quite a few good wheel to wheel moves, battles. There's quite a few like switchbacks that I saw that I was like, wow, that was a sick move.
Yeah.
But how do you feel the sprint and main race went for you this evening?
So the sprint itself, I can't actually recall where I finished. Oh yeah, no, I do know now. I think I finished behind Sci-Fi through penalties. But that race, I was really struggling with track limits. I think I got 6 seconds, and then tyre wear was terrible. I got like 75% on my fronts. By the end, that was quite
Probably
bad.
due to the no ABS.
Yeah, that was definitely didn't help. There are lots of little lookups, but again, it just builds up. So again, probably shouldn't have learned that just in the race because I didn't do any practice with it in F2 cars, but that's all right. But overall, it was okay-ish. Didn't quite get points. P11. I've gotten P11 quite a lot in this F2 series. And then the race itself, I got quite a good start. I think 2 overtakes after turn 1, and then I just slowly started falling away with the inconsistent. I think I was when my average lap was on pace, but then I'd make a small mistake like a lock up or something, and I'd fall back by a little bit. So it was just lots of little mistakes that added up for me.
Well, that's fair enough. I feel like it's a pretty good way to wrap up WHF's involvement with F124, as I believe. We'll come back to that. What's happening in the future? But we'll move on to your teammate Ollie Bean. How do you feel the sprint and main race went for you this evening?
Well, the sprint started very nicely. I had a lot of very good battles. At one point, me and Destructo were battling for the lead until Arrow came along and just blew past us. But yeah, so I was really like gassing myself up because I thought I was going to be like on track for my first podium here in WHF, and then I got then I got rear-ended and it completely spun me out, and I was so upset and so mad. But the main race, it was tricky because I thought there was going to be a safety car due to the lot of the hard battling I had seen. So I stayed out a lot longer than I should have, and it did really cost me when there wasn't a safety car. So I believe I finished P10 or something like that. It was just a lot of situations were out of my control. I did have a little incident with Neil, which was entirely my fault. I completely missed my braking point and went into the side of him. I did give the position back though, because I felt like it was a bit cheap to keep that. But yeah, throughout this F2 series, I've had some pretty bad luck. But I'm just looking to go into F125 now and just get it cracking in T2.
Well, yeah, it should be good. From everything I've heard about the game, those have beta tested and given feedback on the game. Apparently, the handling model is like so much better. So it'll be looking forward to racing with you in Tier 2.
Yeah, likewise, man. Likewise.
I'm still learning how to race with people, so I'm usually a bit more cautious now. Whereas before, I used to just max Verstappen at every corner and piss everybody off.
Yeah, I used to be the same way.
Yeah, and then you realize like half the time the move won't work, and you just end up ruining your race and the guy you're trying to overtake. So
yeah, so I actually did a 2-player series with Ledgeman, and watching it back is just so painful because whenever there was a gap, I would just try and shove my car in it, and it was I would cause so much chaos. It was so bad.
If you no
Probably
longer
about
go
7
for a
tenths
gap
back.
that exists, you are not a racing driver.
Exactly.
Oh. Well, thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to Destructo, who I believe, was it P2 that you managed to get in the end?
P2 in the sprint, P3 in the main.
Well, 2 podiums, certainly not a bad race weekend for you. How do you feel the races went?
I felt like it went well, but there was just stupid like inconsistencies that stopped me from being able to catch up to Cod, who was ahead of me in the main race, because I think it was like every time out of turn 2 he would just brake a wee bit like heavier than me, and I'd hit the back of him, and then I'd end up losing time. It wasn't like, I don't even know how to like, explain it. The sprint went perfect. There was nothing I could have done about Arrow. Arrow was just way too quick. I got lucky that I was even able to stay within the podium spots. The tire wear just wasn't. It didn't feel the nicest. But the main race, I think I proved to myself that I could actually stay with these guys, and that my pace isn't as bad as I thought.
So I believe with the new season coming, you'll be in Tier 1, correct?
I've no clue, mate.
Arrow, do you know if you'll be Tier 1?
I could be Tier 2 in the next game. No one knows how the next game's going to play because every game there's someone randomly will be rapid out of nowhere that we don't even expect. So
a little bit like with Ultra Titan, who used to be rapid in the old games and then lost a lot of pace with the newer one.
It could be you, Skulls. Maybe it's you who's going to be the rapid one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every game kind of works differently, and it takes a while to adapt, and it's just whoever adapts quickest will probably be Tier 1. One thing you can guarantee is that if Neil wants to turn up, he will be Tier 1.
Yeah, guaranteed. Like, it's pretty much like a non-negotiable. At the very least, the man's getting a podium in every race he goes into.
I would like to think I'd be Tier 1, but you never know. If there's a game like F1 22 again, then I won't be.
Well, from everything I've heard, it's got the front end of 23. No, front end of 24, rear end of 23. The rear end feels less loose, more planted. So.
Oh no, the rear end is far looser. It feels like you're driving through a swimming pool. Yeah, it feels like you're driving through swimming pools at times.
Oh well, that's Ledgeman gone.
Turn 4 in Bahrain. Turn 4 in Bahrain, I don't think Ledgeman could physically do because it's really tricky on traction. Traction on the new games is a lot harder to get used to, but the car acts way more naturally. The handling's improved. The you can't wheel flick anymore, which it was a really OP strategy on F124 that they've thankfully removed, because drivers like Neil could just wheel flick through every corner, especially at Monaco.
What is a wheel flick? Is that like the rapid counter steer to stop from spinning, or?
No, a wheel flick is you would literally flick your wheel into a corner, and if it was like a hairpin, the car would just stick randomly. It'd have so much grip, and you would even see it in esports. Like Thomas Ronhard did it all the time. You could visibly see him just flicking the wheel like over 90 degrees, and then at some point the car would just stick. And it was a bit ridiculous because in real life that is not how the cars work. But
Damn, I wish I learned
out
how
of
to
all
do
the,
that.
it's good that you haven't, because it's not a thing in next game. But whether or not Neil was doing it, regardless, Neil will still be the quickest. I don't think Neil has been wheel flicking as much as I've seen other people have, but I know at Monaco you did. I know at Monaco you definitely have to, because a hairpin. The reason why people on wheel are so OP is that little hairpin. They can just turn at such a greater angle that you physically can't do on controller at all.
Well, with that, we'll move on to D. Sommers, the last driver to be interviewed here this evening, and we saw him getting his elbows out with a couple drivers in both the sprint and the main race. But how do you feel that both races went for you this evening?
The sprint could have gone better, honestly. There were a couple of minor incidents where I didn't get my braking right into the likes of turn 3 and ended up losing traction on the exit of the same corner because of it. I don't know if you caught it on stream, but if you saw a VAR car bouncing on the grass,
I caught that. I went on board with you just as it happened, out of like just after turn 1. I was like, "What the fuck? He's gone airborne."
Yeah, Sci-Fi was on my left and came right over to the right-hand side of the track. And he didn't touch me, but I didn't want to have any contact, so I had to avoid him. And going over the bumps on the grass, the rear end just bounced out of nowhere. And I lost, I want to say, about 8 or 9 positions from that. Just because I didn't have any traction during or after the fact. But yeah, the main race went well. I had a decent battle with Kevin and Tomac. That lasted for about 5 or 6 laps, I believe. I did end up losing time to them towards the end, but I was happy enough with that because I had a 3-second penalty. Michael Louis had 6 seconds at that point and was just ahead of me. And then I noticed Tomac had 13 seconds of pens.
I think he may be able to appeal the 10-second penalty, though. I'm not entirely sure, but he may be able to.
I mean, at that point, I was just like, right, okay, all I have to do is just stick to the back of these guys. I'm not going to catch Kevin. I'm not going to be able to pass Kevin in the last 3 laps.
Not to mention, he was the only driver who finished without a penalty in the main race. So.
Exactly. I was like, I'm not going to be able to gap him 3 seconds, even if I do pass him. So I decided to chill out a little bit, sit behind Michael Louis, and just in the last 2 corners, I was able to get up alongside him, but it wouldn't have mattered either way because he had 3 seconds more penalties than I did. But it was good battling at the last 2 corners from us two. Gave each other space and just crossed the line and made sure that we both finished.
Well, it's certainly been entertaining watching all of the Formula 2 racing, and at times, even halfway through the race, there was battles happening further up and down. I'd like to think I managed to capture most of them on stream, but I do have this innate skill that as soon as I move off of a driver, something happens with them. So, yeah.
I mean, with me, you managed to cam onto me just in time to see my rear end bounce into the air.
Yeah, as you were
So-
taking out, I think it was like the DRS board. As you were like, just before you hit that is when I changed on to you.
Oh, it was one of the MCS boards.
Yeah, all I know
Just
is
one
like,
of-
as I changed,
yeah.
you were smashing a board and the car looked airborne. And I was like, what the f?
Yeah. I will grab a clip of that from my stream and post it in the F2 driver chat. So,
I am looking forward to that, but we'll start taking a look at somebody to raid as we close up the stream here. I've been Scones. I've done quite a bit of the commentary for Tier 1 this season and for the off-season break. Hopefully get to see you all next season as we start off with F125. And it's been an absolute pleasure doing commentary for all the drivers involved, and hopefully see you back next season. And who are we rating? Le Bon Pilote. Alrighty. So as that gets ready to go ahead, it's been fun, and keen to get cracking on the next game when that comes out. And yeah, have a lovely evening, everybody. The raid just went through.